Hey everybody, welcome back to the Rant. This is episode 21. Got Jeremy and Josh with me, and we are going to tackle a subject that is a little weird in my opinion, episodic gaming. It seems like one of those weird bastard child ideas that is just sort of hanging on, but isn't mainstream. So we're just going to weigh in on that this time. What do you think, guys? You ready to go?
Hell yeah.
Sure. Alright, let's just hit it then. I suppose I should start off and explain episodic gaming in case anybody has no idea what I'm talking about. Basically, the original idea was really short little video games that were usually story-driven, and they would be released periodically, usually like in 3 to 4 hour segment type deals. The few companies that are still rolling with them right now are like Telltale Games, does a lot of episodic titles. Well, actually, that's pretty much all they do is episodic titles. So, that is the gist of what episodic gaming is. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of it, I guess. First off, either of you played any episodic games recently, or ever?
Oh yeah, I've played lots of them.
Yeah, I've played them.
What have you guys played?
Walking Dead.
Yeah, the first Walking Dead Telltale game was really good, but the second one was terrible. Pretty much everything after The Wolf Among Us from Telltale is pretty bad, I'd say. Because The Wolf Among Us was a really great adaptation of the comic books for Fables, and I really enjoyed that one, but and the Walking Dead one, the first one. But really, those were the only two from Telltale I've really enjoyed playing through and played through multiple times.
Right. Truthfully, I haven't played an episodic title that I liked in a long, long time. The last one I played was episode 2 for Half-Life 2, which, that trailed off immediately. They only made the 2 episodes, and it basically left you with a big cliffhanger and a kind of large set of question marks as to whether or not they'd ever continue the story. So, for me, to be honest, I don't really care for episodic gaming all that much. It seems like an oddity. Telltale Games seems to be the only one, in my opinion, that is still running with it and still able to make money. What do you guys think? Do you think it's an oddity and it's you can't explain why it's still in existence, or do you actually think there's a real niche to be filled with this kind of stuff?
Well, a lot of different companies are kind of dipping their finger into it, like the Hitman series. The new one is doing episodic for the year that they're going to be releasing it, and then they'll do the whole collection, which has been a bad move so far on their part. And there's other companies out there who they also like they kind of go towards it, and they do a game and it does really well, and then they don't do it anymore. Like the game Life is Strange is a really great game, and it's episodic. And I didn't play it until January this year, and it was one of the best experiences I had playing an episodic game in a long time, because Telltale was like, hey, we're gonna just jump on the Minecraft train, and so they made a Minecraft one, and I was like, well, I guess I'm done with Telltale until they do the Batman one this year. But Life is Strange was a really great game, and if you haven't played episodic games in a long time, I think Life is Strange would be a good one to kind of pick up and go, wow, because the basics of a good episodic game would be, I don't mind it's, released periodically every month. You get a new episode. I want the episodes to be long. I want them to be engaging. I want them to all link together, and I want them all to matter. Like take me from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2. Make things matter, Telltale just has a knack for not having anything matter until like the last episode, where like the little tiny thing you did in the first episode affect this one, and I just hate it. I hate it so much. And I had that with that Tales from the Borderlands game. Actually, I was playing it, and we were in a party, and I was just bitching up a storm about the ending because nothing mattered from the beginning to the end of that game. Nothing mattered at all.
Yeah, I think Mass Effect paved the way with that kind of bullshit. Hey, trust us, every choice matters. Now we're just fucking kidding. There's only 2 possible endings.
Well,
enjoy.
Well, technically 4, because there's one where you can shoot the child. There's one where you can.
That one doesn't count. It was not part of the game until the large patch that came through. Thank you.
Whoa. Jeremy, why don't you take over
Mass
here?
Effect is a fucking it's a giant pain in my ass anymore.
I've never had a problem with episodic gaming at all. I
none
enjoy
of it
it.
has ever seemed
No, it doesn't
stupid to you
bother
or
me.
trivial.
No, I think it's a genius move from a
Elaborate,
business
please.
standpoint and from a game playing standpoint. I mean, from a business standpoint, over time you can get people to pay more for a game that would have probably come out and been like $20 or $30 to begin with, right? And on top of that, it's taking all of the best parts of a TV show and applying the dramatic tension to a video game. You have to wait to finish the game. You can't just burn through it in 1 6-hour playthrough. You force the player to wait. And I for one think that's cool. I unfortunately played Walking Dead after it was all on one disc, and I think I would have loved it more than when I played it that way if I had to wait a week in between playing each game. I think that's awesome.
Well,
I think war games should be that way.
It's more like 2 months between each episode
Well,
for Telltale.
I know what you mean, but like, just taking Telltale out of it, there are some where it comes out every week. So I would say, I would say that more games should be that way.
See, I kind of don't agree with that. It's a weird ambivalence I have on this one because I see your point. I get what you're saying. It is just like a TV show. You can keep an audience interested by releasing it periodically. They stay focused on it. They maybe even look forward to it. But at the same time, look at how great the attention span is of the average gamer in this generation, man. Half of them can't sit through a 4-hour title. What makes you think they will sit and wait for the next?
Well, that's my point, though. If you're making the game, like, say, okay, just a hypothetical, you were pumped for the new Street Fighter, it's safe to say, right?
Yep.
What if they release stages of that every, 2 weeks instead of releasing a full retail game? Now, granted, you'd be really annoyed about that. But I think it would have been cool if they released 2 characters a week and you got to play through the Street Fighter story mode at least, through with 2 characters and master them for 2 or 3 weeks, and the next 2 came out, and then the next 2 came out. I think that'd be kind of cool. It's different.
I do kind of agree with you on that one. If it's laid out correctly, I think it can be cool and it can.
And as far as
as
attention spans, if you make a good game, you can hold people's attention. Like I was telling you before we started recording, I've been playing Honey Pop on Steam, and if if they released that episodically, I would never play it because that's not a game that lends itself to being episodic. But any dramatic game or any even fighting game, with that example, could be an episodic game. And I think if you make it correctly and you make it entertaining and you make it engaging, that it will hold their attention, and actually they'll become they'll Jones for it. How would, if say the new Street Fighter was actually good and they were releasing it episodically and you liked it, wouldn't you just be foaming at the mouth for it every couple weeks?
See, at the moment here, the context is odd. I can't really comment on that because we are talking about Street Fighter, and half of my love-hate relationship for that is based on the experiences that I've had online. So even if they were releasing story modes, it could still ruin it for me. So context-wise, this is not a great example for that statement. But I see what you're saying.
If
and
Uncharted 4, if
yeah,
they announced that Uncharted 4 was going to be an episodic game, yes, people initially would probably bitch about it. But I'm willing to bet more than half of those people would also be sitting by their PlayStation in anticipation with their controller in their hand, staring at their television, waiting for the next episode.
If the story's engaging enough, I can see people doing that. Because mostly with episodic games, it deals with the big story thing, like you said before, the TV show. If it doesn't have a good story, people aren't going to be, face into the TV going, "Where's the next episode?" or waiting for the next episode. It all comes.
That's a good impression of people.
Well, lots of kids don't they're like right up against the TV, so.
That's true. I chipped a tooth doing that once.
Woo.
I saw a ham on TV and I got really excited. I ran towards the TV and chipped a tooth. True story.
Well.
Okay. And with that, I've completely lost the plot and forgot what I was going to say. Awesome story about chipping teeth on TVs.
Ham, man.
God, that is...
The ham
That
compels
was going
you.
to stay in my head now. It's such an odd one. It's going to stay in my head. Thanks
You guys
for
are going
that.
to come to the comic book store Wednesday while I'm talking. You're going to be like, which tooth did he chip on the TV while running at it towards ham?
If I brought in a honey baked ham, how crazy
I would run at you and it would scare the shit out of you.
That was a terrifying thought.
Where'd Josh go?
What do
Well,
you-
he was
Robert,
eating.
why do you... I don't... Now, you're a bit curmudgeon-y when it comes to this stuff. No offense. Why don't you like episodic gaming?
More than anything, the way I view it is this. I feel like it's a heavy slant towards the developers' favor and less towards their consumers, their audience. Because the way I'm viewing it is this. It allows them to pump you for more money than the product was ever worth. It gives them total creative freedom with open-ended ability that never lets them solidify their storyline because they can always say, oh, well, we can take care of that in the next episode. Basically, I feel like it's not going to make a company strive to make a really excellent title because they'll always have this view of, we can always get more money out of people, or we can always do this, or blah, blah, blah. And I mean, it's the same bullshit that we're seeing a lot of with updates and patches to video games now. There's always this we can take care of it later mentality, and I hate that. I hate that because I think it's not forcing anybody to really commit and make a quality product anymore. It seems like everybody's willing to settle for this B+ grade bullshit that, yeah, it's not bad, you could develop it into something that's really awesome, but it's never going to get there because they just care about getting their paychecks and not about putting out something that is really awesome and maybe even thought-provoking.
Well, I think you're a little overgeneralizing here because like I mentioned before, I played some really great story-driven episodic games, and I think if you'd played Life is Strange, I think you would be changing your tune just a little bit.
I've heard that's good.
It is. I wish I could have put it on last year's list because it would have beat out a bunch of games. But I think if you played that game and you would see how each episode was kind of molding the story into something new. Each episode was mattering. Your choices were kind of forming the next episode. And the kind of twists and curveballs that you can get in an episodic game. Like, no, I'm not defending an episodic game any more than the next guy. Like, I've played a string of Telltale games which have just been shit. And I've also played some good Telltale games. I've played some good other episodic games from random companies. And not everyone is just going for the money grab. There are still some people out there who are making games for the basic reason of, hey, we want to tell a good story. We want to give you some good gameplay. Not just button mashing or quick time events. Not just, oh, here's this one thing changes the story and that's it.
Well,
Quick time events
do
are a
agree
bigger
with you.
problem than episodic gaming.
Yeah. they throw them into everything nowadays. It's like, oh, how do we make a cutscene that's worth watching? Oh, let's have them tap square the whole time. Yeah. Just two people talking are like mash X to talk.
Then just to screw with them, we'll throw in one time where you have to hit circle and we'll screw everybody up.
They did that in that Lego Marvel's Avengers game. You're doing the boss fight and all of a sudden they're like, oh, do square now. And I didn't notice and so I lost. And I was like, well, I gotta do this all again.
You know, the dumb thing is that shit came out in Shenmue. It was like the reason that game was so popular is because they had quick time events.
It was
Well, yeah,
new.
because
Gonna
at the time it was like, holy God, what is this? This is awesome! I can't believe they put what was
but
that?
who
Like
would have guessed that would
1999?
be like the go-to mechanic for every game in existence?
The guys who developed Dreamcast.
Those poor guys are all pulling their hair out, or at least they were.
I love the Dreamcast.
Me too. My favorite console. It is unfortunate that it didn't have any copyright protection on it. And
The best football game I've ever played was NFL 2K for Dreamcast.
nice.
Just a great game.
No, I do agree with you, Josh. There can always be a standout title that is in a genre and is a prime example, and is really good, like the Life is Strange game. I will admit I have been very curious. I just keep forgetting to pick up a copy of it. But I do have to look at the genre as a whole and look at the percentage of developers that are, in my opinion, just going for the money grab. I mean, they're clearly, in every genre, there's going to be studios that pride themselves on what they're doing. Like Bethesda seems to pride themselves on their open world RPG games, and they make amazing prime examples of it. Like if you want a blueprint for a good open world game, you look at Bethesda. But there's
Do you though?
do I do, yes. I think
With all
they
the glitches and
dude, there's glitches in everything though. It's become like
yeah, I know, but
standard check thing.
those games don't have memes based on their glitches.
Okay.
Now I'm just trying to rile you up. I'm sorry. It's the rant, not the calm centered discussion.
Might be calling this the angry sigh or this.
I'm just trying to keep my fucking thoughts in line because I've only had a few hours of sleep. Jeremy thrives off of no sleep. I don't.
It's true.
So his little left field curveball shit is just making me drop all my thoughts and empty
Wild
out.
card, bitches.
Exactly.
His villainous name is the Meme Meister.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Throws those dank memes at you so fast.
Oh yeah, I like that. I'm gonna put that on a shirt and sell it in the shop.
No, it's more like Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
We'll
He just shows up and sets things on fire and then leaves.
You reek of cheese.
Go ahead, tell them about the time you lit a bag of feces and threw it into a building, hoping to scare everybody out.
I've never done that. Yeah.
See, now nobody that's watching this that hasn't ever seen that episode of It's Always Sunny is going to get it at all.
It's like the fifth episode or something.
Yeah,
Isn't that the one where the guy from a different country comes in and moves into the bar and he's like, "Oh, the zoning says that this is where my property is," and
yeah, I think that's it. Yeah,
That's like season 1 somewhere in there. Yeah, but
they should make an episodic game of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, starring the Dayman.
Hell yeah!
You gotta pay troll tolls and all kinds. It'd be fantastic.
See, for something like that, I could see it working, and I would actually be waiting for the next episode. But when has it ever been done?
So, what? I don't think it's as simple as calling it a problem, or I don't think it's as simple as calling it innovative. I think it's somewhere in the middle. There's a lot of gray area when it comes to this subject.
There's a lot of gray area in every genre.
Well, yeah, but this one especially. I mean, it's all a matter of preference, really. I mean, if you prefer to take a disc out, put it in a system, and play for 8 hours and get your platinum trophy or whatever and be done with it, move on, fine. If you prefer something where you have to wait a couple months and then play like level 2 and so on and so forth, and then you get a complete game after like 6 months, and then that's the way you prefer the game. I mean, it's all, for me, it's all a matter of preference.
Good point. However, the one thing about episodic gaming which has popped up in my head many times and I haven't seen an example of, it seems like it would be a perfect fit for mobile gamers. Like small segments that they can do during a commute or something like that. It seems like the perfect schematic for a mobile game platform.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree or no?
Well, unfortunately, I think the mobile game platform is dominated by puzzle-based games that require you to purchase items to get further, and unfortunately, that's the they've made such a strong profit that is just what they're hanging on to. So even if they did an episodic, mobile game, quote unquote, it would probably be expensive out the ass. Like, oh, get the next 5 minutes for $5. Oh, what a deal!
Hey, I never said it was going to be a generous, nice thing. It just sounded like the perfect lineup for a mobile gaming type thing.
Yeah, I guess I could see if mobile gaming moved away from like puzzle based.
Mobile gaming just needs to move away from mini
everything
in general. Like,
we need more Pocket Mortys.
All of it.
Pocket Mortys is the only exception. I love Pocket Mortys, but everything else can go away and die.
It eats my battery like no other, but it's a fun game.
Yeah. At PAX East this weekend, Adult Swim has a booth there, and they have a bunch of buttons, and they have one for each Morty. And I would love to get a whole set of those.
How many are there?
I think with the last update, they're over 100, aren't they?
I just started. I don't know.
I think with the newest update, I think there are over 100 Mortys, if I remember correctly.
Jeez, it's the new Pokemon,
which is awesome. Yeah. Well, it's for kids. It's a cartoon. And as far as developing goes, I mean, there's benefits to it too. I mean, if you're developing, say you're developing and you put the first couple of chapters out, and there's a couple characters that really resonate with people, and they want to see more with them, or the game plays better with certain types of controls, and you can figure that out on the fly and literally change the game.
Again, heavy slant towards the developer.
What's wrong with that?
Dude, it's gaming. It's an entertainment industry. They're supposed to make people want to play with them, not kind of force them to come to them for the product. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be about the fan base and people enjoying your work. If it's slanted that heavily towards them, it's more or less like saying, you have no other choice. You can either not game or you can buy whatever we put out.
That's kind of what they do now.
Somewhat. It depends on the developer, but I just don't have a whole lot of love for game developers anymore. A lot of them are, it seems very self-serving and a hell of a lot less concerned about keeping their fan base intact.
Well, I mean, what do you want them to do? I mean, they can innovate as much as possible, but nobody buys that shit. They want Uncharted 4, they want Assassin's Creed, and God forbid you change anything that's noticeable, or else everybody's gonna riot and they won't buy it. And well, I mean, that's our fault. That's not their fault.
Well, it's just like with Call of Duty. When they went to Advanced Warfare, they added in this exosuit, and I thought it was kind of cool. But everyone was like, "Oh my God, this ruins the game," and blah blah blah, and they lost sales on the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next one, they're like, "Hey, we just have a jetpack now. Is that cool?" And everyone's like, "Okay, that's good. That's cool."
And then some people are like, "Oh, it's the same old stuff. Why don't you ever give us anything different?"
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to hinder people from camping, and they're like, and everyone's just complaining out the wazoo.
So I mean, I actually feel empathy for game developers because I don't think they can win. They're in a constant lose-lose situation.
So I think the message we should all take away from this is that the internet is destroying everything in regards to gaming.
Pretty much. Just like it destroys everything.
To the companies who don't give a shit, it's not. Companies like Bethesda and those people who are like, well, we see your guys' responses, but we're going to listen to the people who actually matter.
Yeah. They have the ability to wade through the BS. I kind of feel like Blizzard's the same way.
Well, they have been around a long damn time, so yeah, they must be able to sort through the bullshit.
And that's why we see a lot of companies come and go so quickly, too, is because people will play their game, 50-50 will say it's good or bad, and then they'll just never come back because they only get the hate.
I feel like it's about like 85% of the people that actually are vocal on the internet about stuff are just the ones that are negative. Then there's like 10% that actually do have positive, constructive criticism. They just don't care enough to put it out there. And then there's that little 5% that doesn't care either way, won't bother either way.
And it's funny because that's like the exact opposite for Rock Band. Like, I go on their Facebook page and everyone's like, "Oh my god, this game is so fucking good! I can't wait for the next Justin Bieber DLC." And I just want to slip my wrists. I stopped following Rock Band simply for that reason. And of course,
That is a rather Twilight Zone response system they have going there. Yes,
it's ridiculous. Carrie Underwood, Justin Bieber. I don't want to get on that track.
Okay, I can literally see you just contemplating shooting the developers of that game. Justin Bieber, spin the chamber on your revolver.
Maybe today will be the day I free myself from.
Oh God, one more Carrie Underwood song. All right, well, we've gotten off topic, but we have covered a whole lot. Do you guys have any final thoughts you want to throw out?
Episodic gaming is not the devil. Don't fear it.
Episodic gaming works when it's done correctly, with a good story, a moving story. It should make the player think, it should make the player feel, and it should make the player want more, which is why they want the next episode. Then it also should have the basic gameplay mechanics of, a lot of them are point and click, which is fine by me. I don't mind point and click, but just they need to cut back on these quick time events, and they need to focus more on, hey, how's our story doing? And so when episodic gaming is done well, then I can give it a thumbs up. When it's done terribly, like Minecraft story mode, like Tales from the Borderlands, like etc., that's when I start to go, well, you could have done better on this, and here's why.
I pretty much agree with both of you for the most part, but I still have that little voice in the back of my head that's kind of bitching about some of it. I think like everything, it has a niche in the gaming world, and I think it's going to stay there a while. I mean, hell, it's been about 10 years since episodic gaming first was introduced, and it's still here. It's a small niche, but it's still here. So hopefully somebody in the game development world will get together with another guy in the game development world that both actually want to focus on story and making something awesome and want a repeat clientele as a result. So hopefully that'll line up a bit more often than it has been. Well, I think
I'm going to live my life
for
in
this
quick
episode.
time events.
Say that again?
I'm going to live my life in quick time events.
The meme meister
That
strikes
would
again.
be kind of interesting. You do have to admit, it would be nice to, start an event over again instead of dying.
Well,
Man, maybe I shouldn't have let that car hit me.
Well, yeah, wouldn't you die and then just get reset, so you would feel all the pain and then go, well, I guess I don't want to do that again.
Damn it, I knew I should have pushed B instead of A. Fuck.
Oh,
Still
man.
be
More
fun.
time.
Worst time to be colorblind.
Colorblind. Good one. Very good. Alright, it's time for plugs. Josh, do you want to start?
Sure. My main channel is Josh's Opinion. Of course, I love being here on the Rant. It's such a fun experience. But I also have my own channel called Josh's Opinion, where I do video game reviews and YouTube haikus and Left 4 Dead videos and gameplay videos and everything in between. I try to put as much content that I feel is good out there, and I try my best. So you can check that out. That's Josh's Opinion.
If there was
Sure.
a loud bang in the middle of that, it's because my headphones almost slipped off my head.
Didn't hear anything, so I think
Yeah,
we're good.
I didn't hear anything either.
Your turn, Jeremy.
Well, if you like Star Wars or Star Wars Rebels specifically, or really anything, I'm on a somewhat regular podcast called Hanging with Team Kanan with my co-host Katrina and Jonah, and we cover Star Wars Rebels and a whole bunch of other things Star Wars related. I do a weekly comics and nerd culture podcast called The Comic Book Nerd with my friend Eric, and that is available every Monday evening. Both of those shows are on iTunes, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Ohio. I talk about lots of Star Wars things and also wrestling, because wrestling is awesome.
Very good.
And I never talk video games ever, so
Do you want them to follow you on Twitter?
Yes, I do.
And maybe you should mention your Twitter.
He did.
I just said. Hey, what's my Twitter, Robert?
Follow him at Jeremy Ohio. Jesus. Try to give the guy a hand.
Never mind. If this was a quick time event, I'd be hitting the wrong button and turning the system on.
I'd be pressing the reset button on my system. I do not want to continue from this save point.
Well,
where
this has
can we
been the
find
Rant.
you, Robert?
Don't forget to check out all the other stuff we have on the Rant channel. 5-minute game reviews, gameplay streams, the Versus series that Josh puts together, and check out our Twitter feed for new episode postings at the Rants TW.
Next week on Versus is Bloodborne versus Dark Souls 3. It's gonna be a duel to the
winner
death.
is Ratchet and Clank.
I already did that one last week. You know, I was thinking of doing Ratchet and Clank versus Dark Souls 3, but I thought that would be a little bit too out there.
It's
you
your
pull it
series,
off.
man. You want to run with that? I'll put it up on the channel.
No, think about it.
That being said, I feel like the Rhino would totally come in for the win.
Well, I mean, you're using medieval swords and stuff in Dark Souls, so yeah.
Well, you have magic, but, you know, it's... Can't argue with a rocket launcher shoved in your face.
Like, hey, I got a fireball spell here. It takes me 5 seconds to wind it up. Oh, I'm already dead. Shit.
That would be a horrifying event. I think that's it for us, folks. Say goodbye, guys.
See ya.
Bye, guys.